Good morning, everybody. Welcome to your Rangers Review morning briefing. It is Tuesday, the 15th of July. I'm Derek Clark, and I'm joined this morning by Jonny McFarlane. Seem to be coming on all the time, Jonny, these days. How's it going?
It's not deliberately, honestly. I'm not trying to come on and re-establish myself as a main voice on the Rangers Review. It's just been holidays. This time of year, isn't it, when people want to go away, school holidays and things like that. So I'm stepping in, much to the chagrin of Running Claw.
Well, yeah, you can't please
Get up,
everyone.
you Running Claw. What are you talking about?
Yeah, see if he has the same view at the end of this programme, but who knows? Before we get stuck into all things Rangers, a quick word, as ever, for our podcast sponsors, the great guys at Willows Fencing, the Glasgow-based fencing company you can trust, and proud partners of the Rangers Review. They've got over 20 years' worth of experience. They offer free consultations, whether it's a small-scale refurbishment or a large-scale complete fencing project. There's also get 10% off if you use the code Rangers Review over on their website, willows-fencing.com. Do go and check them out, folks, if that is something you are in need of. Before we dive in, Jonny, you posted, I liked your little image on Twitter over the weekend of your pizza oven. How did that go?
It was, well, look, I'll just be honest. My wife had to step in, Derek. I said, look, I'll take care of it. I'll set the fire. I'll make the pizza. But it's probably fair to say, two pizza disasters. And she had to step in and sort of organise it for me because I was just getting frustrated with the thing. Unfortunately, there's a real balance you have to get between the heat on the stone and the amount of wood that you've got in. And she's a chemist, so she's natural at getting it right. And whereas I'm more of an artistic type, a flowery artistic type and creative. And I couldn't get it done. Couldn't get it done. Made an arse of it, Derek.
Are you going to have another bash at it, perhaps, in the coming
definitely.
days?
Definitely. It was a gift for my 40th birthday. And it's fantastic. There's great pizza. But a lot of people were saying in the comments on Twitter, quite interesting, actually the gas ones are really, really good because you can control the temperature. And that makes sense because it was really difficult just to get the temperature just right. And but a fantastic thing to have outside and, have lovely fresh cooked pizzas on a sunny day.
Can't beat a pizza. I'm a big fan of that. And none of your Domino's rubbish, proper Napoli-style pizzas.
I'd happily accept a Domino's sponsorship, Derek, but at the same time, I am not a fan of Domino's. I am not a fan of Domino's. I don't think it's good pizza. I think it's massively, massively overrated. Support your local pizza shop.
Yeah.
Here in Rutherglen, we've got a fantastic pizza shop called Pedano's, where if you're in Rutherglen, Burnside, East Kilbride, Pedano's, it's fantastic. That's where you want to get your pizza. None of this Domino's nonsense.
Yeah. There's a good one near me. It's a bit of a chain down here, but it's called Rudy's, and it's absolutely outstanding. There's a plug for Rudy's. If they are listening, then give us a bit of money your way, perhaps. But can't beat the old.
It's absolutely free. It's free plugs.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to get a free pizza next time I go in for that.
Yeah. And Samson says Neapolitan is the word you're looking for, Derek. Yeah, absolutely. Can't beat it. Right, let's crack on with all things at Rangers. It isn't the pizza review after all. It is the Rangers review. Let's talk transfers, Jonny, because current state of play, Joshua. There's a piece we had on the website from Joshua yesterday with regards to Robin Proper and Jedi Gassama. We'll start with Proper, and we'll tie in John Souttar as well on this in the wider issue of the centre-half situation. Robin Proper, of course, expected to rejoin his former club, FC20. Russell Martin at the weekend said they had accepted a bid for the 31-year-old, and it was just up to him to agree personal terms. However, I believe it's been held up because Robin wants compensation because there is a bit of a gap between what he's on at Rangers and what he's been offered over there in the Netherlands. So that is holding up matters at this moment in time, Jonny. Can't expect it to be much, can we, in terms of the compensation? It's just one of those ones. It's been retracted. It's been on the cards for quite some time, this move back to FC20. I think a lot of the fans just want to see it done and dusted now.
Yeah, I think Rangers are in a situation where they can afford to be drawn a line under the days of where they would accept peanuts for players. You know, the days where Rangers were accepting 500k for someone with Todd Cantwell's talent. So they're probably looking at the proper deal and thinking, well, we bought him for 1.5-ish million. I think the offer is around just under $1 million, maybe 800,000, something like that. But there's a 200,000, say, gap. And if we pay that off, then we go from receiving £800,000 for a guy that we bought for 1.5 million to receiving £600,000. And in that, I think it might not seem like a lot of money in the grand scheme of things, but I think Rangers are run like a business under this new board, under this new ownership group, and they will be looking to make sure they maximise potential. 20 want this guy. They want Robin Proper back. He's a former captain. And I think the deal will be done. It's as simple as that. I think it will be done. But Rangers are right not to just accept the first offer and try to push it through. There's no reason for them to get Proper out immediately. There's no pressing concern to get him out immediately. It's one of those whereby you say, well, you come up with the goods that we want and we'll do the deal. Rangers for far too long, for far too many deals, have just always been under pressure to get people in and get people out.
Yeah.
And they've, because of that, I think lost money on deals. So in some ways, you can see it as a positive that this is taking a little bit longer because Rangers are maybe drawing a line in the sand with some of these. That said, in terms of Proper, I saw some criticism of him, but I don't think that's really fair. I think if you look at what the gap would be, if it is, say, £250,000 per year, that's a lot of money for a guy who's been a kind of middle of the road Dutch league player for most of his career. In fact, you could argue it's life changing if you put that in a high interest savings account and put it away for your retirement. It's a lot of money. Certainly more money than I've got squirreled away in my pension, Derek. Put it that way.
Well, so, and a lot more than I've got, I'll tell you that.
People forget that footballers are human beings. I remember chatting with a football contact of mine, and we were talking about bad managers and the effect that has. And I was sort of saying, but you don't really play for the manager, do you? You play for the fans. And he just sort of laughed. He laughed and looked at me and said, like, you sweet summer child, like, what? That's very naive, very, very naive. He said, if you are in your work and you've got a manager that you hate, do you do more? Do you do less? I think the answer is you do less, don't you? If you've got a manager that you really can't get along with, that you don't like, you don't feel like they're getting the best out of you in any way, shape, or form. So fundamentally, footballers are exactly like the rest of us, and they react to human problems and human issues like the rest of us. And for Robin Proper, if he's getting asked to take a big pay cut, he reacts like the rest of us, which is, I don't think so. Yeah. And what I think you'll see is there'll be a compromise on this, but it's hardly new that a player would refuse to go and sign a new deal with somewhere else until they were paid in, and that's just the way it is. And football's been like this time in the forever, and I don't see it changing anytime soon. You look at the situation around players that Rangers are looking at. Connor Cody has been on the agenda for quite some time, and I don't think it's beyond the ken of man to assume that there's similar situation going on there. So yeah, I think Proper will go, but Rangers are right to kind of dig their heels in and try and get the maximum that they can for the player.
Yeah, hopefully he moves on sooner rather than later. Just about admin, Maka got in touch with regards to his account yesterday. I've seen your comment there, Maka. I'll have a word with Joshua to get back to you today on that one. Hopefully we can get that resolved for you, buddy. Moving on from that, I love this. This caught my eye a wee while ago. Just deviating slightly, Jonny. Nicky says, looking forward to Jonny suggesting we sign Murray Davidson and Andy Considine because they are Scottish. Sort of tie.
Nicky, that's a poor comment, that. That's a poor comment. Murray Davidson 10 years ago I might have thought about, but not now.
He was linked to Rangers back in the day.
I think he grew up a Rangers fan and was quite keen to join in the McCoist era as Rangers went back to the leagues. But no, I am not going to suggest subpar quality players arriving at Rangers, especially ones that are old and infirm now, like me.
Yeah. John Souttar then, that's another player. He's got interest from Trabzonspor, which I said yesterday on the show. It seems to be a bit of a retirement home at this point in time for Rangers players. Just have to look at Borna Barisic and John Lundstrom. Not really had a successful time over there. In fact, the reports in Turkey suggest they're looking to offload both after a season there. Not many British players go over there and are successful, Johnny, but this interest is real in John Souttar. Seen as well a report from Turkey suggesting that Trabzonspor are looking to bid about €1.5 million for him. He's in the final year of his deal. Firstly, is that good value? Secondly, can you see him going before this? Can you see him going full stop? And can you see him going before these huge Champions League qualifiers coming up?
No, I can't. And I don't think that would be a very good idea at all. I'm quite certain that if this deal is to proceed any further down the line, I don't think a bid has been received. But if it was to, I think it will happen after this game. You cannot be letting John Souttar go. He is the one anchor point in defence that has a bit of experience of the club and a bit of experience understanding of these qualifiers and what they mean, and he knows his teammates. A lot of the other guys are brand new, so I think Souttar will have to be retained beyond that. As to after that, Derek, John Souttar for me is a solid, probably good SPFL defender. He's got a mistake in him, which is a major problem. I think 1 in every 10 games you'll get a pretty major mistake out of John Souttar. That's just the way it is. But when he's on it, he's good. For me, I'd like to have kept him as part of a defensive unit of players. I'm not saying that John Souttar for me would be a first team pick every single game. I'd probably want someone who was a little bit less prone to error. But I've talked before on here and at length about having a Scottish backbone, a Scottish core, and there's a bigger problem than just whether or not that's a good idea. And that bigger problem is the homegrown talent that you need to have. Not only homegrown, but home reared. And Rangers have had a real problem with that in the last few years. I think there was 1 year under Michael Beale when there was 4 players that were not in the squad. So it was 4 players less than it should have been. This might be another Giovanni van Bronckhorst, actually, because there wasn't enough Scots. So what happens when you can't reach your quota of Scots? What happens is you have to just abandon that slot. So if you say it's a 25-man squad, if you don't have enough, it goes to a 24-man squad. If you don't have enough, it goes to a 23-man squad. And it keeps going. So you lose those spots. You have to have those spots filled regardless, even if it's a blank space.
That's why you get a lot of young guys getting chances in Europe. I mean, I said this. Remember Cole McKinnon came on against Benfica a couple of seasons ago. Yeah. Last season, he's had Finlay Curtis, Bailey Rice all on it at Old Trafford.
Yeah. Well, the concern is what is going on there. And if you let John Souttar go, then you really do need to go out and get more Scots. And where are those guys coming from? I have no idea. It doesn't seem to be a priority to go for Scots or target the Scottish market in any way. I think they are going down the British route because they think that the British game is quite homogenous, like below the Premier League. I don't agree with that. I think that's wrong. I think we're going to see that. I think there'll be an adaptation period for these players from the Championship. Time will tell if I'm right or wrong on that, but I would look at the players that have come in over the years from the Championship, and I think there's always been an adaptation to the size of the club, the demands of the club, the intensity of the media glare, the intensity of the fans, the Goldfish Bowl of Glasgow, and then the idiosyncrasies of the game itself, which I'm sorry, I'm not buying that the Championship and the Scottish Premier League, Scottish Premiership, are pretty much one and the same. I don't agree with that. I think that if you're a top team in the Championship, Derek, and you know that league inside out, you're not going up against a low block every week. Absolutely no chance. these big clubs in that championship, 10 or 11 or 12 clubs would be the third biggest club in Scotland by a distance. You do your commentary for Bolton. They would be a massive club in Scotland. The size of the stadium, the fan base, it's just a fact. The size of the population in England is such that it can support a lot of big football clubs. The idea that big clubs down there are going to sit in a low block all the time against you like they do up here in Scotland, it just would not happen. So I think there's going to be a bit of a reckoning on that front for Russell Martin. He'll have to get his head around that quickly. I think Thelwell will have to get his head around that quickly. But listen, Derek, I've been wrong before and I may be wrong here.
Yeah, I'm sure many supporters will be hoping you're wrong as well, and they gel pretty quickly. But I foresee a bit of adaptation time, shall we say. Everyone you speak to says it takes time under Russell Martin. I expect the same at Rangers. You just hope that they're still within touching distance or in a title race by that point, and they aren't so far adrift that we're writing off the season as was the case last season.
Yes,
that can happen.
Yeah, Derek, it's not just Russell Martin, because that's one factor. It's getting used to Rangers. And we in our capacity here at the Rangers Review have spoken to a lot of ex-players, and they all say the same thing, don't they? They all say there's a bedding-in period where you have to get used to all these elements that make up being at this club. That never changes, and it never will change, because the demands won't change. The intensity doesn't change. The situation here in Glasgow doesn't change. So all these aspects that affect your personal life are there, and then you've got the football aspects. Now, that's more debatable, and I accept that, that's subjective, and different people have different opinions on it, and different players will adapt differently. Some will come in and be like a duck to water and more suited to the kind of style of football Rangers play than the teams in the Championship. But I still think I think there's going to be a rocky period, and I think anyone who's not prepared, not strapped in for a rocky period, I think you're being a little bit naive. There's a level here that is going to have, the Rangers are going to have to smash through to kind of build up the core of the way this team is going to play. And there's going to be mistakes, and there's going to be difficulties, and there's going to be problems as that gels and forms and molds. And at this club, you just don't get the time and space to do that over a long period. It has to happen quickly. We saw Philippe Clement all last season. Oh, it'll be better in November. What was he said? Better in September or better in November?
Yeah, October, I think. And
then I think about December, it did improve. But by that point, the league's done, and he was still losing the odd game, and was so far behind that. The fact that the team is looking a bit more robust and a little bit more sharp, it didn't really count for anything. And, this is just the demands. I don't know what the board think for this season. Do they think title challenge? Do they think, no, we need the league? Do they say, we want to see a style of football and a cup? What do they want from Russell Martin in this first season? And I think that's important.
Well, I think behind the scenes, they'll have made it clear to Russell Martin what they want. They're not going to come out and say that at this point in time. I think that when Andrew Carvin and Parag Bharati came up, they say they want to be competitive, don't they? And of course, the aspiration is to become the top dogs again. But I don't think the public come out and put that pressure on Russell Martin. But behind the scenes, he'll know very well what the requirements are. Just the situation with Souttar. Of course, that final year of his deal, if he doesn't sign, if there's no contract offer, I know he was asked about this at the tail end of last season. He says he was quite relaxed about it, and he hadn't had any discussions about it. If that isn't on offer, or if there is a deal and he's not willing to sign it, then Rangers need to move him on. Given the situation with the defence, I would be keeping him until after at least these two games against Panathinaikos. The same applies with regards to the striker situation as well. It's too late in the day to make changes for me at this point with departures, guys that are going to feature in these matches at least. But after that, fair game. I'd be looking at moving him on. And
Derek, I suppose the big question would be what the fee is at that point, because you're talking about a guy in the prime of his career in terms of being a defender. What is he, 28? He's a Scotland international who's played at the Euros. He's played Champions League. He's played in a very successful front foot team. What do you think Rangers should be looking for? I mean, there's discussions about 1.9, 1.3, 1.5 million. For me, I think that's a little low.
It probably is, yeah. But I mean, what you'd be hoping for? £2 million? You're not going to get a serious amount of cash for John Souttar in the final year of his deal, are you? So, do you want him walking out the door for nothing? Is it for what is just over £1 million? Is it worthwhile just having him play out the final year of his contract? We've seen players do that in the past and haven't really performed to the heights that they once did. I mentioned the two lads there, Lundstrom and Barisic. Of course, Ryan Kent is another, Alfredo Morelos, where Rangers never cashed in at the right time on those. So, yeah. It's an interesting one. You'll get supporters out there that they really want Souttar to stay and see that the benefit of having him. Of course, that you need to factor in as well, he might not be a cemented first-choice starter in that Russell Martin team as well, Jonny. He might see him as more of a sort of squad rotation option, and he may not want that. He may want regular game time elsewhere. But I just don't understand why Trabzonspor are coming back in again for another player, given two players that they've had on their books haven't necessarily worked out. It's scratched my head at why they would come back in for another one. But there you go.
Yeah, I think there's also, Derek, just going back to Souttar and the deal in general, there's also that lifestyle factor, going to Turkey, you know, playing in a different league, playing in the sun.
Holiday destination, and someone said yesterday on I think the Q&As or the show yesterday, it's great to go on holiday and visit and that sort of stuff, but playing football over there is a different kettle of fish.
Yeah, but I think like for your family, being out there in the sun, you have a nice, obviously an amazing home where you can relax, probably with a swimming pool, be out and enjoy the weather. Turkey is a great country with lots going on. I mean, you were in Istanbul recently and you were raving about it, saying how fantastic it was, and you were in a wee suburb. It wasn't the centre of Istanbul where people normally go. So
it was actually Besiktas. I was in Besiktas. We'll touch on that shortly, but yeah, brilliant wee area of Istanbul. Yeah, absolutely. Love to go back.
So it's. I think it's I can see why it's appealing to him at his age, having been in Scottish football for a large amount of time, you know, and kind of bounced from a kind of smaller club and up to Hearts in the sort of medium kind of jump, and then on to Rangers, where it's at the top of the game. You might just think, well, I've done Scottish football, and now it'll be onto something completely different, something to really stimulate you and try something that's unlike anything you've ever done before.
Yeah.
What's the salary?
Yeah. Well, often players don't get paid. Just ask Ryan Kent. So, yeah.
Chris Boyd got paid in the end, didn't he? He got paid a big lump sum because they messed him about. So,
yeah. But players getting messed about seems to be the norm over there. So, yeah, just a word of caution if he's heading out that way. So, mentioning Besiktas, and of course, reports again, caveat reports in Turkey. Ridvan's always linked every single window with a move back to Turkey, of course. This came from the hugely popular publication Fanatic, who wrote yesterday on social media, Besiktas in talks with Ridvan Yilmaz, said that if there's an agreement with the club, there won't be any issues from my side. The management submitted a loan offer for their former player. The transfer is highly likely to be finalised. Said it before on Ridvan and the left-back situation as a whole, Jonny. I think Rangers need someone better in there, at least another body in there to compete with Jefte. I don't know if Robbie Fraser's going to get an opportunity and whether Russell Martin sees him as a possible player to play in that position. But Ridvan going, Besiktas here credited with an interest. I could see him at some point going back to Turkey. He's someone, see also Dujon Sterling, if you like. He's just been injured too often. We've seen in flashes what sort of player he is, but for the money that Rangers have shelled out, we've just not seen enough of him. No,
definitely not. First of all, it's important to stress that this has not been reported by Josh or by Chris, and it's not fact until it's reported by one of them. The Turkish media are notorious. They've been saying Ridvan's going back to various clubs in Turkey for basically since the moment he arrived. So I think we need to point that out. But I think it's a valid conversation to have about Ridvan Yilmaz and whether or not he's been a guy you would want to keep around based on his performance levels at Rangers. I think there's a player in there, but I don't think there's a player there that is suited to Scottish football. I think the weather, the physicality, I just don't think it suits Ridvan. He's had too many injuries. It's been going on for too long. And I think at some stage you have to say insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And Ridvan's a player that gives you about 25 games a season in Scotland. So based on that, I think you want to get someone a bit more physical, a bit more, a bit quicker, and bring them in and allow Ridvan to go back to Turkey or wherever else he can get a move. I do think he's a good player. I think there's something about him. He's got quality when he plays. He has ups and downs. There's no doubt about that. He's had a couple of bad games as well as having good games. But I just don't think it's worked out. And you just have to look at the overall big picture and say you want to take a risk again on Ridvan. You know that he's got injury problems. You know that he can be targeted at the back post. For me, no. I think it's time for Rangers to get someone else in to challenge. Jeffy. I think Jeffy is first choice anyway. I think he's ahead of Ridvan. So let him go. I think £3.5 million that has been spent has not been good value ultimately. And if you can get some of that recouped, then you should do it.
I agree. It's time for him to move on, is my opinion on that one. An incoming that we've been discussing for quite some time now, also in the piece we had on the website yesterday, is that of Jedi Gassama, the Sheffield Wednesday winger. That move in the final stages now. Russell Martin spoke about that over at the St George's Park training camp, and he says it was the hold-up was Sheffield Wednesday's end due to their financial difficulties they're experiencing at the moment. I mean, keeping a close eye on things going on there. It really is a bit of a car crash, of course, with Chanziri. I think the players are now starting to be paid. Well, some players are. And their coach, Danny Rule, who was widely expected to leave, is now pitched back up to training. So it's crazy goings on down there. But we fully expect that deal to go through. But I spoke with Stevie yesterday on Gassama. You can understand why some fans, some quarters are a bit apprehensive about this, Jonny. I likened it to, remember when Mario Jardel was pictured in the Rangers jersey and the move never happened in the end due to the infamous red tape?
Mario who? I just remember Karen Jardel. There's one for a generation of, a certain generation of fans.
Yes.
Anyone under 35 will be wondering what on earth I'm talking about.
Google it, folks. That's all I'm saying. But we've discussed. I think we discussed him when we were both on at the tail end of last week, Jonny. We expect that one to be ratified at some point. It's just that when you're dealing with clubs like Sheffield Wednesday, where it's all over the shop, then delays should be expected, I guess.
Yeah, it's a really, really challenging and difficult period. Sheffield Wednesday, who are, by the way, are a right good club, and I hope they get it sorted out. We've seen it in multiple clubs in Scotland over the years, not least Rangers, of course. And it's a horrible situation because it's not the fault of the supporters or anyone to do with the club beyond the owner. If you've got a bad owner, you're in a really, really difficult situation. That's clearly what's happened to them. In terms of Gassama, Josh reported yesterday that it was on the verge of happening. So I fully expect it to happen today or tomorrow. It's clearly done and dusted pretty much. And I look forward to having him in the building and getting to have a look at him, because he is the one actually, Derek, that I've seen. I know he's not a finished article, but I think he's made for this kind of challenge that Rangers face. He's really, really good ball carrier, very quick feet, creative, maybe a bit flaky, maybe maybe got a lot to prove, maybe got a lot of talent to fulfill. but someone I think that can deliver quite a lot in the attacking third for Rangers. And of the deals, this is one I really quite like the look of, and I feel like he will be someone who can be a lock picker in difficult situations.
Yeah, if you want to learn more about him, folks, I spoke to Naz, broadcast and Sheffield Wednesday fan last week, who gives a bit of insight into him. Interestingly, says he's potentially a £20 million plus player, and Sheffield Wednesday fans are not too happy at him being offloaded for what is a cut price deal. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled on the website, on the YouTube channel, folks, on the social media channels as well. As soon as we hear anything with regards to that or anything else, you'll be first to hear of it here, wherever you consume your Rangers content on the review. But I think we'll wrap up there for now. But a big thank you to you all for tuning into the show. Very much appreciated as ever. A big thank you to Jonny again. I think you're back on this week, Jonny. Is it Friday you're back on with me? Or
back on Friday, yeah.
Yeah, so there you go, folks.
And then hopefully after that I can take a long break from being abused in the comments.
Well, there wasn't that much abuse today.
No, to be fair, it was not too bad today.
Not too many hot takes, which is a shame. But if you like your Jonny hot takes, we'll make sure that they're back with a bang on Friday. But yeah, we'll wrap up there. Enjoy your Tuesday, everyone, whatever you are up to. And we'll speak to you all soon. Bye for now.